Welcome back to another episode. So it's all going to zero, is it? Right? Oil
Why?
crashed to zero a couple of years ago, and I think the same thing is going to happen to the Dow. I think the same thing is going to happen to gold. I think the same thing is going to happen to silver, right? For way too long, people are thinking that gold is a hedge against whatever, right? It's all just fairy dust, you know?
Fairy dust. It
It's
does
all
make you
just
think.
made up. What is it? Like a little warm blanket to make yourself feel better. It's a comfort zone. It's the go-to thing for uncertainty, right? Well, it never has actually performed like that, and it's just an illusion, right? It's just this thing that's been a narrative for a long time, and people are about to find out just how wrong that is, right? Because a lot of the times people like to talk about, uncertain. So what are you telling me that gold is a certainty? Gold is a certainty, is it? See, there's a lot of contradiction going on with, what's certain and what's uncertain because people just decide what's certain according to God knows what. God knows exactly why they say these things in the first place. So to me, there's a lot of contradictions, and I'm starting to notice them now more than ever, right? So why does anything happen, right? Recently, I posted a little short clip about the different crashes we've seen, the Great Depression, the 1987 crash, the GFC, 2020 crash, all that sort of thing, right? And why does it happen, right? So we're so smart that we know why stuff happens, right? Because we're really good at blaming the Fed for everything. But, why did all that happen? Okay, good question, I reckon. So according to Chat GPT, right, the 1987 stock market crash, also known as Black Monday, was a sudden and severe decline. It had the biggest one-day crash, 22.6%. Um, and it was caused apparently by a combination of factors, including program trading, economic factors such as concerns about inflation and rising interest rates, right? International factors such as political instability in the Middle East and the US trade deficit with Japan, and psychological factors such as fear and uncertainty among investors that led to panic selling. The crash serves as a reminder of the potential for volatility in financial markets. So basically, they have no idea, right? That's a great way to deflect the question. Let's just throw everything at you that we believe that it could be, even though we don't really know. But we need to try and make sense of things because that's what we do as humans. We try to make sense of things. Just like gold is my go-to thing when I'm uncertain. Makes no sense because it moves up with the stock market, right? Gold is as much as like an equity as a Tesla, right? It's just when there's money available, people tend to buy it, right? When the money's cheap, people tend to buy it, right? But that is also an assumption, right? Everything is an assumption. That's why I use the waves to sort of back my claims up because you could be right for a period of time until you're not right anymore. Like, for example, have you ever seen that book by John Murphy? I think it is the Inter-Market Relationships between different markets. It's a good book, but that also clearly points out that nothing is correlated always, right? Uh, like there's there could be like a period of time where interest rates follow the US dollar or gold is inverse related to the US dollar, but it's not always the same, right? It changes over time. Why? The pattern, right? As humans, we make this pattern. We create this pattern, right? It's called, in my opinion, it's called AriasWave. I discovered this pattern that I'm always noticing. I've always noticed it, and I made a book. Or I'm making a proper book about it now. I did release an initial copy, but I'm making improvements, and I'm going to be releasing that book at the end of April. And it will no longer be a AriasWave program or course or website membership available. It'll just be a book. You want to learn it, just read the book. Done. So that's what I think causes these things. That book explains everything about how I see it. I'm not going to get into that here. So according, to AriasWave, it's just a larger pattern, completing that causes these crashes, right? So there's a larger pattern that is completing at the time when we see these sudden shocks in the market, right? These sudden moves, these crashes, as they call them, right? It's just the end of a larger pattern. That's all it is, right? There's no other way to put it. So what we're looking at now, is, this question of, is this the end of the world? Well, of course not, right? Will it be decades before the market recovers? I highly doubt it. Right? I highly doubt it. Look at what happened with oil, right? It bounced straight back up. Wow. And it's doing fine. In fact, it's still rising. I think it's on its way to $100, right? It clearly rejected the lows, and it's also in line with final high for the Dow Jones. So, I believe this will happen to precious metals too, that they'll go to zero, right? And that'll get rid of that narrative that gold is a hedge and all this stuff. It'll just wipe everyone out who's invested, right? Is it a big deal? No, no one cares, right? If you're rich and you're all invested in gold or you're hedging or you're whatever it is doing, good luck. That's all I can say, right? You're taking a gamble, just like when you buy real estate, right? If real estate crashes, right? Yeah, you gambled. What can I say? You did it with leverage, took out a loan probably, if you don't have the cash, and yeah, you gambled. You literally gambled, right? You thought you knew the pattern, you didn't. Right? So yeah, people do a lot of that sort of thing, investing, following the crowd, based on basically not knowing anything about what they're doing and just following the crowd, right? Fair enough. It's always going to happen that way. This is why the markets are the way they are, right? So so how do we like understand what's going on with these larger patterns, right? Because they are so big that you can't see them. A lot of these patterns, they're just, they've been going on for hundreds of years and they're coming to a completion, right? And no one really cares, right? People like to focus on the now. Could that be due to what? Short memory, short attention span in society these days? TikTok videos are what, a minute? I think they'll probably be 30 seconds soon, and then 15 seconds. 15 seconds of fame, yeah. So that's probably where that saying comes from. That'll be the new normal. But yeah, no problem. People like to, focus on the now because the past apparently doesn't mean anything. I don't know. Does it? Well, I like to focus on the pattern, no matter how large or small, because the pattern itself is the one that is giving any kind of clue or indication as to what's going on and what we're looking at moving forward. So it probably means something important, right? If you can understand the pattern and when it actually finishes, I'm pretty sure that you'd have more of an edge over someone who is just blindly speculating on prices, right? Just saying, right? If you don't have an edge, you don't have a chance, right? All right. And I say that specifically because a lot of people think that you're in competition with other people, which is sort of true, but at the end of the day, you're kind of in competition with yourself. You either lose or you win. What are you worried about other people for? You either lose or you win. It's up to you to lose or win, right? Looking at other people ain't going to really help. So that saying is a bit stupid, I reckon. It's a moot point. But in terms of the zero-sum game sort of thing, yeah, I get it. I get it. There's as much losers as there are winners. Great. So who do you want to be, a winner or a loser? Whatever. Anyway, so moving on. Oh yeah, sorry. Still on that subject. If you don't think that the past is important to try and determine what the future brings, well, I look at the 900 years of bond yields. That's helped me understand where interest rates are going moving forward. 600 years of gold and silver prices, and a few hundred years in oil. Is that all that irrelevant? It's not really irrelevant, right? Didn't Ray Dalio become, really successful by studying the past, right? Cycles and events that repeat. Do you really need to be qualified to answer that question? Right? You don't really need to be qualified, right? Any schmuck moron can answer that question, right? I mean, if you think for yourself. So anyway, so all this stuff means that there's opportunities coming around the corner, right? Nobody really cares if it's going to be a nothing burger. Oh, it's just going to bounce to current levels. And it's going to. That's the whole point. If it collapses to basically zero and then it bounces back, wouldn't you want to buy the dip? Wouldn't you want to like pick up some bargains and then, hold those, assets so they grow over time and you've got a good head start? Just saying, might be a good idea. That's something to consider for sure, right? Um, even if it is for a minute, right? I think the oil bounce was only like a few days or something. Like it literally went to zero for like a day or two. Like, I mean, it's just like these opportunities don't come all the time. All right. So if you want to ignore it, that's fine. But if you don't, because the FUD at the lows has incapacitated your thinking, another opportunity is just going to fly by, right? And that's probably happened to you before, right? And that's what makes people bitter and angry, and they turn into those little trolls that like to leave silly comments. Basically, you're revealing your pain to the world. So anyway, and changing the subject now, Fed now, CBDC. Well, there's a lot of things that people have to say about these CBDCs. The first question I would ask is, can I convert it to XLM or XRP? Can I convert my Fed now into crypto? Simple question. That'll basically tell me if CBDCs are here to control me or not. I would just ignore all that BS. That's crazy talk, right? No one really knows for sure, so it's kind of crazy. Right. So firstly, we know that you cannot really trust the media. And if you think alternative media hasn't been infiltrated, then you couldn't possibly believe that it could be all just a double bluff, right? The elites work smarter, not harder. By simply keeping the fear going, these so-called conspiracy theories and theorists are doing the job for the elites for free. So, right, if all they want to do is spread fear, then a lot of these conspiracies theories are basically spreading fear. So, I mean, you're working for them for free. I mean, what? Come on. Am I? Well, I'm a believer that, it's where you put your attention is to, how your world looks to you, right? Like, you can't tell me the reality of anything, right? Your brain does that for you subconsciously on a subconscious level, right? You can't just sit there and, try to tell me what's real or what's not. I don't care what's on television. I don't care what kind of fear's being uh, pushed through the media and whatever, like, or who tells me what. It doesn't mean anything, right? And also, why would you focus your attention, which is valuable, by the way? That's why advertising is a big business, right? Why would you put your attention on fear or propaganda, right? So that's up to you. You can put your attention wherever you want, but I'd suggest you not put it places where it's going to affect your future gains, because you might not be thinking straight enough to actually know what you're doing or make good decisions. So will CBDCs control you? Well, don't laws already control us, right? Unless you live in a lawless country. Are they still forcing you to take those vaccines, or do you have PTSD, right? Are you living in the past? Okay, so we do care about the past then, right? It goes back to the thing before we're saying, look at the past and try to figure out what's going on, right? But, if you're living in that past where you still have PTSD because of what happened 2 years ago, well, then you should probably think about learning AriasWave, because it looks at past to learn the future. And no, what they did, it wasn't part of AriasWave, but I'm pretty sure that they learnt their lesson. Do not try to lock people up. It's not good for the economy. Do they want to save the economy? Why? Why would they go to so much effort to save the economy if they care about it so much? I don't know. You answer that, right? And all this because we live in the information age. So, information overload is inevitable, right? You could perhaps tune it out. Why not? Put your attention somewhere else, go play a game, go for a walk, go to the gym, right? If you cannot handle all the information flying around, maybe you just need a break or a reset, right? A reset. Maybe as a society, we need a reset, not the WEF schmuck, Schwab type. As a species, we should start thinking about ways to jumpstart the economy in terms of goods and services. I think that's definitely a good, way to think about it, because at the moment, this is part of the reason why we have inflation, is because there's not enough goods and services, and we have a lot of money flying around, right? So, if we start printing more money in trying to fix a problem which is not, the reason for the problem, it's we need more goods and services, right? Now, if we have more goods and services, well, then we could spread the money around without causing hyperinflation. But unfortunately, I think that there's a bit of a problem there, because the way that I see it going, they're going to try and basically stimulate to the point where it does cause hyperinflation, because the problem of goods and services hasn't been fixed, right? That's why I keep saying it's like putting a band-aid over a broken leg. Right? How many times are you going to keep putting a band-aid on thinking it's going to fix it? It's not going to fix it. Right? That's not how you fix it. Right. So food for thought. Right. So, okay, so some groups are saying that some wealthy elites are buying up a lot of farmland so that they can force vaccinated meat down our throats. Well, shouldn't we be more motivated to produce high quality meat? Right? Since when did we not have a choice on what we buy at the shop? Should I buy the Skittles or the M&M? I might go the chocolate block today. Or maybe I should just get some fruit. Just don't buy it. It will go out of business. Fear porn is more popular than the actual porn. Don't quote me on that. These days, I don't know. So of course, there will be more money printing when this happens, and I think that's the whole point, right? This is why I think bond yields will continue to go down into negative territory, is because they know that they can't just continue to raise rates in order to try and fix this problem. It's not going to work. It's not going to work, right? It's not working now. It's not going to work ever, because they're in trouble, right? I think it'll definitely lead to a lot of problems down the track, but not now. Now it's like, it's that moment before all that happens, moment in history, but really for the next several years, it'll be crazy. I think it will definitely be crazy. And I suppose we got to start wondering about what's the bigger pattern, right? Because in the stock market, I think the pattern is, it looks to potentially be the end of a D wave, right? And the crash will be an E wave. That's my opinion. The other alternative is that it could be the end of an actual 5-wave move, which would be worse. It'd be far worse. And if that's the case, I think that we'd be looking at, sure, a bounce, but then a lot of stagflation for a while. So for me, on the positive side of things, I would say it's more like an E wave incoming. It's going to be a huge E wave crash, followed by a huge bounce. Hyperinflation will take the stock market to levels that we couldn't even imagine, which is what hyperinflation does. So it makes more sense that we'd go into some kind of really impulsive bull market at this point in time. So to think that it's anything other than that at this point in time, I really don't think that's the case. Just my opinion. Not sure, but That's what I would be thinking, right, along those lines. So, I think that's the deal there. Whatever's coming, they won't be able to stop. It's it's the market, it's the collective that drive the markets, and that's what will basically cause all this to happen. So, so like the Fed is insolvent, right? If the Fed was a real bank, it'd go bankrupt, it'd collapse, right? But the Fed has special powers, right? It has special powers to continue at a loss, and they have all sorts of accounting tricks up their sleeve that they can use to keep moving forward, right? So it's just a never-ending Ponzi scheme it's not going to end, not now. And after all, the markets are built on trust and confidence. So as long as they can keep that to some degree, they'll continue. So, what else? What else is there to discuss on the Fed? I mean, we know what they do. We know what the central banks do. But this is the world we live in. So, it's not FUD to think there's going to be a huge crash. I think it's just an opportunity. FUD is what people probably have already right now because they have no idea what's going on. They're probably in uncertain times. Absolutely. So I think this move that's coming will sort of put an end to that. And then, there'll be, renewed growth from there. Because you can't really be bullish on crypto, but not the economy, right? And who's bullish on the economy right now? Yeah, it's one of those things that like you can't really be bullish on one and not the other. So that's my opinion, but I think that that's how it works. Right? I think that sentiment is a global thing, right? It's not specific to one market over the other. I think it's a very general thing. That's why a lot of stock markets are all very correlated because of globalization and just being part of the collective in general. Like Harry Dent believes that the markets will crash due to demographics and Elliott Wave. So if it's about demographics, then why would it bounce after that? Is a crash gonna magically create more people? Right? It's just gonna come out of nowhere, or more people going to get pregnant during a crash. It's going to happen all so quick that the bounce is going to be amazing. Greatest transfer of wealth. I mean, all that sort of stuff. I just think it's trying to sell books, trying to sell a narrative for some reason. God knows who these people are or who they really work for. But look, that's basically in a nutshell how I see it. Like the market is it runs off money. More money printing is required to keep it going. Right. The market it needs more steroids, right? To just give it more steroids. It's a machine. Basically, the economy is like a machine. Props to Ray Dalio. He outlines how it works pretty well on his videos, but humans love cheap money. Why not? It's whatever has kept us going this long. It stands a chance of keeping us going into the future. But I do think that there will be certain technologies that will definitely change the way that it all works. Like XLM could become world reserve currency. XRP could deal with the banking sector. Settlements and transactions, and all these ISO coins, that they all have a big chance of being a big part of that system. That's what I always talk about, right? Humans will be humans, right? What will change will be probably things in the background that will go unnoticed for a while until people realize how important they are. And by the time they do, it's too late. It's already worth how much money, right? How much of these crypto is going to be worth in the future? A lot of people don't care what they're worth now, but in the future they'll care, and it'll be too late. So if you get in early, you'll be one of the early adopters. This thing's in its nappies still, right? It's still a baby. So we're heading in that direction. That's my opinion there. So I think it's just important, like to understand certain things, like artificial intelligence isn't gonna It's not going to save the world. It can definitely help, but you know, it's not going to know why the market crashed. You know, the clues are there for me. I just got to be careful not to be asking too many hows and whys in terms of, you know, what's the real cause psychologically speaking. Nah, not going to do that. It's a waste of time. You know, at the end of the day, you know, if you make money off any kind of XLM XRP rally, you're still going to have to convert it to fiat to use it, unless somehow, some way, the system, you know, starts adopting this technology and start using it every day in everyday life. That'd be great. That'd change a lot of things too. You know, whether it becomes legal tender or not, that would change the tax implications for sure. It'll be very interesting to see how that pans out, but it's going to take time. So, you know, anything that's useful in terms of use case will be good in the new economy. Anything that's rubbish, probably not as much. You know, but I see a lot of upside for XLM and XRP, and I've been looking at this XLM BTC crosspair, and it's so bullish that, like, I don't even want to say it, right? But you know, going up close to the value of Bitcoin in the future for XLM, it's I don't think it's out of the question at all, right? I think it's inevitable, right? And that's a weird thing to say, because we don't even know what that level will be at that time, right? That's the one thing that chart can't help you with, is that it can't tell you what the price will be roughly. That's something we don't know. We can't know. But I think it's I'd want to be in it to find out rather than not be in it to miss out. So, you know, anything else like meme coins and that, you're gambling, I believe. So gamble wisely. And yeah, I'll leave it there. And yeah, I'll catch you the next one.